Hi.
What's up?
What's going on?
We've been sitting through 100 days of you know.
Oh, yeah. 100 days of you know.
Yeah. What you think about what's been going on with you know?
Yeah. You know, here's the thing. I think for many people that voted for the president, they voted because they wanted to disrupt the status quo, which I understand. Like, I want to disrupt the status quo.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even my life has been littered with the consequences of bad policies.
Yes.
Right? So I get it. The problem is, and I think, you know, I didn't need to look at poll numbers to see how people are feeling right now, because I spend every day in my communities.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I spend every day, I go out and I talk to the farmers out in the Eastern Shore who have had, and agriculture is the largest industry in the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
And I talk to these farmers who have had family businesses for over 100 years who are now wondering if they can survive the next 6 months because of these tariff policies, right?
terrible.
I talk to people who work at the Port of Baltimore,
Yes.
which is one of the largest, most effective ports in this country. 2/3 of the country gets their goods from the Port of Baltimore. And I talk to these port workers who are losing work and who are losing hours by the day. I talk to families who are watching prices increase, and I talk to federal workers who are losing their jobs daily. So I think that there's a chaos that is existing right now that people are not, there's not just setting a level of frustration, but it's an anger. And people are just truly hurt by what they're seeing right now, and that the pain is not, it's not like you're going to the federal government to support you. The pain is coming from the federal government. And that's what's so difficult for
But people feel powerless now to do anything until they can vote.
They're afraid.
Well, you know, actually, I think this is actually a really powerful moment, because I think that, you know, people are seeing the power of the president and the power of Washington. But I think what people are also seeing is, what's the power of governors?
Yep.
Right? What's the power of states? What's the power of the people?
That's true.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, so for example, if you look at what's happening in the state of Maryland, right? Despite everything that's happening in Maryland, is literally the most exposed state in the country to these federal cuts, these federal issues. We have over 260,000 federal employees in the state of Maryland.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But look at what's happening in the state of Maryland. Maryland right now, our unemployment rate is still 3%, almost a full point lower than the national average, because we found ways to support our federal workers and streamline them into available jobs, private sector and state jobs, and making sure we're making it happen faster. If they are available, if they are qualified, get them trained, get them in classrooms, get them in hospitals, get them in places where we need them.
Right. Yeah.
Right? That we've been able to lead amongst the fastest and most encouraging drop in violent crime anywhere in the country. The last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I wasn't born yet.
Wow.
It was a little over 50 years ago. And we see how we've been able to lead with a measure of fiscal discipline that I think people appreciate, where we've taken the state from a structural deficit into a structural surplus and still managed to give the middle class a tax cut.
Wow.
So it is
very good.
So it can be done.
It can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, Governor Hochul. Yeah, Governor Hochul, take a listen to what's happening.
It can be done.
Well, Governor, it's so good to have you. I want to ask, Maryland's kind of become a center point of the immigration debate right now, with Kelmar Abrego Garcia being deported to El Salvador without due process. Now, some Democrats have chosen to travel down there, including Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, to elevate his case. But there's some pushback among Democrats suggesting that they're framing this man, who has been accused by his former wife of abuse, as a bit of a martyr, rather than focusing on the message of the importance of due process. How do you balance that message and not fall into the trap of elevating someone who is entitled to due process but may not be a great guy?
You know what's really interesting, and it's a great question, because this actually has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
And in many ways, frankly, it has nothing to do with immigration. Because if the president really cared about solving the immigration problem, the chaos of the immigration system that we have in this country, do you know what he could do? He could call Speaker Johnson right now and say, Speaker Johnson, I need a comprehensive immigration bill on my desk tomorrow. And do you know what would be on his desk tomorrow? A comprehensive immigration bill.
Because there's one been done.
Because there's one been done.
Waiting.
And he controls the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
So he could literally do it tomorrow.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't have that issue to run on.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's not about the individual, and frankly, it's not about the issue. This is about due process. It's about the Constitution. And so the only thing that I'm calling for is he needs to come home and stand trial.
Yeah.
And when he stands trial, if he is found guilty, then there needs to be accountability.
In front of an immigration judge,
In front
which is
of
where
an
it's
immigration
supposed to be.
judge.
Yes.
That's the law.
But it does not happen at the whim of a president.
Right.
That's not the way the system works. And so the only thing we're saying is follow due process, follow the law, and follow the guidance that the Supreme Court gave a 9-0 decision to.
Yeah.
The president cannot pick and choose which parts of the Constitution you follow.
Yeah. Well, Governor, you alluded to this, but governors hold a pivotal point right now, especially blue state governors. They're kind of seen as one of the last lines of defense against the administration, but there's also a fine line you have to walk. So we're seeing some of the criticism of Governor Whitmer and her trying to get certain things she needs for her state and working with Donald Trump while also, standing for what she believes in. That was a funny picture. So how are you able to navigate the needs of Maryland and what you need from the federal government and the president while also standing true to what you stand for and represent?
It is incredibly important that all of us have to remember the oath that we took. Right? The oath that we took was to the people of our state. And that I would protect and defend the people of the state of Maryland, and I will do it. I will do it in all situations and in any situation. But I think the people of Maryland also appreciate it. It also means protecting our values and protecting the things that we stand up for. And so I, along with I know all my colleagues, I will work with anyone who has the people of my state in their best interest. I will work with anyone to be able to come up with policies that are going to better the lives of the people of the state of Maryland. While I will work with anyone, though, I will bow to no one.
Yeah. Yes.
And there is a balance about how we're making sure that we are, of course, going to defend our people, of course, going to defend the interests and their futures and their legacies. And at the same time, when we are watching things that are happening that are in direct contradiction to that, like we are seeing, where we're seeing how these federal public servants in my state, thousands of them, are being told that their jobs are no longer useful nor needed, and by someone who wasn't even willing to take the same oath that they took.
Right.
When we're watching that, I can and we always will stand by our people in those situations.
Joy.
So you sound very presidential to me today. He always has sounded presidential. But Democrats have been in a bit of disarray. We know that. I mean, they're having problems. A lot of it self-inflicted, probably. I don't know. But you've emerged as a promising new face of the Democratic Party and a possible contender for 2028. Now, even George Clooney has said, I wish you would talk about me that way. He said, you're a proper leader. And, quote, someone we could all join in behind. I believe that's true. I think that means you have to run. Are you going to run?
I am not running.
You're not?
I'm not running.
It's saying that. You're saying that for sure?
I'm not running.
He's saying he's not running.
As of today, he's not running. Okay, don't press him too hard.
Most politicians do not say things like that. They say,
I'm not
well,
running.
it's too early. I mean, all sorts of things.
He's doing a pretty bang-up job in Maryland.
Yeah.
I lived
Yeah.
in Maryland for 10
Yeah,
years.
but what if we really, wait a minute, what if we really, really, really need you to run?
I'm really excited about the work that's happening right now in the state of Maryland.
He's killing it there.
Yeah, I mean, things in Maryland, when you look at everything from labor force participation, the fact that Maryland is now the first state in the country that has a service year option for all of our high school graduates.
So
and all of them now have a year of service where they can find the thing that makes their heart beat a little bit faster.
The city
and go
has
after
a match for first-time homeowners.
That's exactly
for the down
right.
payment. I was able to buy my first home in Baltimore City.
Yes.
Because of that.
And I mean, the work that we're doing, we passed the most aggressive housing package in any Maryland governor in recent history to make sure we can make more people and turn them into renters, into homeowners.
But what you're saying is what makes good presidents.
Joy, let the man live.
Well, hopefully, good candidates for re-election in 2026.
But more harassment from Joy to Governor Wes Moore when we come back. We're back with Governor Wes Moore. Sonny has a question.
Thank you, Whoopi. Governor, ABC is reporting that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz will be leaving the administration after the infamous Signalgate. Trump seems to still be standing behind Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Now, you served in the Army. You are a Bronze Star awardee. You toured in Afghanistan, yes? Should in your view, Pete Hegseth be heading the Defense Department, and should he be dismissed or resign?
No, he shouldn't be there. Listen, I believe in accountability. And the truth is that what the secretary did, a 19-year-old who served with me in Afghanistan would have a greater measurement of accountability than the Department of Defense now has.
Wow.
I mean, this is a very serious time.
Yeah.
And these are very serious issues we are dealing with, and we need serious people.
Yeah.
Who are then going to sit in these seats. And so I respect the president and the president's ability to be able to build a cabinet, but I also believe that accountability does matter, and there has to be accountability when you have such a serious security breach. And literally, there's been no drop of accountability that we've seen thus far.
Yeah. Well, Governor, I want to move on to something. At your State of the State address in February, you spoke about something we've talked about at this table a lot, the need to help struggling men and boys. Can you talk about why this issue deserves our attention?
You know, it's an incredibly important issue, I think, for two reasons. One is the data is just absolutely staggering. If you look at the state of Maryland, boys have 4 times the chance of committing suicide than our young girls. In the state of Maryland, boys have 4 times the chance of overdosing than our young girls, have 10 times the chance of being a victim of homicide.
Yeah.
So you just have to follow the data to see that something is going on, and we have to spend more attention and time of what's happening with our boys. But the other thing is, for me, it is very personal, because I was raised by a single mom, and my mom would be the first one to tell you she could teach me so much, and she taught me so much. But there's certain nuance about being a man that she could not teach me. Just same thing. I have an amazing 13-year-old daughter, and there's certain nuances about being a woman I just can't teach her because I don't know it.
Yeah.
That we have to do more to be able to engage our young men and boys. We have to do more to get them involved inside of issues of education and healthcare and as mentors and support systems.
Mental health.
Mental health. And it's why we are really the first state in the country now that has an entire administration. Every one of my cabinet secretaries, every one of my agency heads, we now have an entire performance cabinet that is zeroing in on this issue about if you can lift up men and boys in our state, you're going to lift up everybody.
Wow.
And don't forget about us.
Oh, no. And
Don't
that's
forget
the thing.
about us, because, that's the thing. We can balance it.
You can do both.
We can do both.
You can do both.
Yeah.
One does not happen to the exclusion of the other.
Yes.
Are you trying to tell me something? You want me to rap right now? Oh, okay. Our thanks to Governor Wes
God bless you
Moore.
guys.
We'll be right back.